Good morning, United Kingdom. Good morning, Sir Lakhi Singh. How are you doing this morning, United Kingdom? What's the weather like there in sunny London?
The weather's nice out.
Excelente. Excelente. Okay, Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, the man of the hour in London. Lakhi Singh, we've had obviously lots of interesting guests on and conversation with different viewers. Same goes for yesterday. I think we were speaking to the lovely D20, and I assume the 20
D20
D21 was it?
D20 men.
20 men, right? Okay, so next year it will be 22. Is out by a year.
Any bad jokes, we'll have to ignore them and cut them out.
Excelente, excelente. Right,
This
we've
will
got
be
Andy
edited.
this morning. We are lucky.
This will be edited, I think.
You are lucky, and I am VJ Sal, and we've got Mandy this morning as well. And we're going to have her on, and we're going to be talking to her about her life, about her start, where she's at, where she's going, what business interest she has. Right, so the saying of this week, it's all the hard moments that make you stronger, apparently. And we were talking to Dee yesterday and asking her, because she is a clinical psychiatrist as well as being a therapist and a hypnotist, whether that was true, whether it was the hard times that were making people stronger, or is it hard times make you weaker? We don't know. Each to their own. And Lakhi Singh, the question is, what do you see as being the 5-star investment locations for the future within the United Kingdom? Where do you see money and return optimizing during and after this pandemic? So Lakhi, do hardships make you stronger? Yes or no?
I think they do, yeah. I think everybody should go through a tiny bit of hardship just to wake them up and smell the coffee. Because if life was just a bed of roses, then basically you never really learn anything and everything would be far too easy. And if you don't really appreciate what you've got, because you got it easy, you'll just think that, everything is, you've already got everything. So I think the question is learning how to appreciate things that you've got without having to go to the hardship. Actually is a tough one. If you've got everything already financially, let's say you're secure, your health is good, your family is good, everything, you're in tune with the Almighty, then you're blessed. And if you can realize that you are blessed without having to go through hardship, then that's probably the ultimate, really, isn't it? To be in that position.
Excellent. We've got Mandy waiting in the wings. We will invite her in, a bit like Ruth Van Ross and Maria Carey. We have Mandy waiting in the wings. And as we speak, Mandy.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Hi, Mandy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you two?
Great. We're good.
We're like the two Ronnies.
You are?
Good morning from him.
Yeah.
Good morning from him.
Like you and Mandy, I wouldn't make correct for being the two Ronnies, because Mandy is a female and you're a male, Lakhi.
Good morning from him, and it's good morning from me.
Yes, good morning from him and good morning from him. Good morning, Mandy. So tell us, how's life? What's the weather like? What part of the United Kingdom are you at?
I'm in Manchester and it's raining and it's miserable.
Excellent. No rain, no cornflakesy. Remember that. Always a silver lining in the grey cloud. No rainy,
That is true.
no cornflakesy, no Weetabix. So remember, you need rain for your daily cereals. Okay, so it's raining, and is it cold? Is it hot? What's it like?
It's quite cold.
Okay,
So having to put the heating on already, it's crazy, but yeah, we have to, don't we?
exactly. We had D on, D21. That sounds a bit like the rapping group.
It's not
No,
Dion,
D,
it's
20 men.
D. Her name is D, not Dion.
It's D21. Yeah,
No, D,
men.
20 men.
20 men of them on. Yes. So, yes, we had her on. Also, someone who's had a nursing background, coincidentally. I'm trying to work out, I've got all these nurses on the group here to fix people and their psychologies, because I know you were a nurse, weren't you?
No, I wasn't a nurse. I was in IT, but I worked for the NHS.
Yes, that's right. You were in the PCT, I think, or
Yes,
in
that's correct.
that's
Yeah.
right, PCT. But I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it's in that health and care sector, isn't it? That's the
Yes,
bottom.
yes,
So,
yes.
and obviously, she was talking a lot about depression and suicide and the fact that she has been helping people for so many years, and obviously having difficult situations where people are saying that they feel suicidal. And we spoke about the fact that, Lakhi has been to Ireland and he has seen suicide clinics on the high street, apparently, which
Yeah,
sounds a
no,
bit
that was very interesting.
yeah, to have a suicide clinic slapped across the front of a restaurant, a bit weird, but the fact is that is happening or has been happening. So tell us, Mandy, how have you been since we last spoke to you? What's new? Anything happened that clarified your future? Because I know you're all a bit in the research mode to do with property.
Yes.
So anything that has happened, a vision, something that's gone on that's become a bit of a coincidence in your sort of research and preparations to go into property? Anything new that's happened for you?
Yes. I've been speaking to one of the mentors at Rick Gannon's academy, and he told me not to. It's not a good idea for me at the moment to go down the oh my God, what is it?
Go down the sink. Why would you want to go down the sink?
No, I don't want to go down the sink.
So he told you not to go down?
I can't remember what it was, but basically he said to get my foot back into the property, do rent to rent, and not. So, and I agree with him, because me writing to landlords and then trying to acquire the property, it's going to be costly, because it's sending out the letters, doing the advertising, which I don't have the money for at the moment.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. So I mean, the fact is, he's advised you not to, and I assume he's an expert or at least somebody who's got credibility. So his advice rings sensibility for you. Lakhi Singh, what have you done since you've last spoken to Mandy? Any premonitions you've had? Anything that's happened that's changed the style of your moves? Are you now still river dancing? Or are you now into another ballroom dancing or more sort of classic ballet? Are you wearing tights now? Are you sort of thinking of buying one of those little ballet frocks? What's happening on the move making scene there in London? What moves are you making, sir?
Well, what's happening is so much going on that I could actually be here for about a whole month explaining everything to you guys. So my day is a bit like a year in compared to what it used to be about 5 years ago. So we're beginning to sort of move mountains. So we're helping about at least 20 clients a day on various matters. So we're doing a lot of bridge finance for people that can't get finance easily. It's really, so I've got somebody coming in with 30 cases on Thursday, for example. Sorry?
Carved out a niche, you're saying. You've got a particular niche there that is helping people, but also lending them much needed money. Is that right?
That's right. So I'm setting up a bit like a social fund for,
is like a what?
Like a social fund to help people that maybe having, are involved in property, but they're just short by cash by a couple of million or a couple of 100,000 or even 5 or 10,000. So just been working on that. So that's at the sort of, you could sort of ABC level. And then at the top end of the market, just I've got 2 or 3 hedge funds that we're talking to now that have access to, got 3 different types of structuring for large projects, which are in the millions and billions, where I'm working with them for them to source prime central properties as well. So just structuring that.
By the way, what's a hedge fund? Because I would assume a hedge fund is a fund that people have got hiding behind a hedge in someone's back garden. Is that what a hedge fund is?
Well, I'm still learning the ropes. So they're regulated funds, which are which can only mostly have private high net, ultra high net investors in, and they're looking to extend their reach in terms of either investing into projects or alternatively looking for investment from billionaires or trillionaires, that sort of thing. So it's a completely different kettle of fish, but I'm quite new to it in some ways because I typically deal with Buytolet portfolio owners between 20, say 5-10 properties going up to about 50 properties in my day-to-day role. But because of how good we are at dealing with day-to-day portfolios, we're beginning to get a lot of demand from Saudi families, as well as international hedge funds wanting to work with us because we're based in in the heart of Mayfair in Berkeley Square. So there's a lot going on. So super busy.
Okay, we've got a good morning shout out from Amar Ali, Zishan, from social media marketing manager, from I think it's John Smith. That's right. Bob Singh, as usual, giving us the Lakhi Singh property fixer sign. I've got a suspicion Bob Singh is probably also from Krypton, and he also is a superhero cousin of yours or one of your family members. Is he also a superhero, Lakhi Singh?
That's right. He's more like the Batman, and I'm like the Robin.
You're the Robbit. Okay, so the first time I've heard of a Robbit. But anyhow, Mandy, can you imagine Lakhi Singh as being a Robbit? Whatever that is? Is that in between a rabbit and a robin?
No, I can't.
Can you imagine Lakhi Singh as being? Is he more like a Spider-Man? He's like Spider-Man, isn't he? Between Superman and Spider-Man.
Yeah, I guess, yes.
Yeah,
he's all over the place. He's always busy.
He's all over the place. He's all over the place. That's right. He's all over the place, and he's like a superhero who spins webs on people. Anyhow, so Mandy, you see, Lakhi Singh has been making lots of moves in the few weeks we've not been talking to you. So things are moving quite fast in the south, I think. And as opposed to Manchester,
Yes,
Are things
definitely.
moving fast in Manchester, or is it a bit still as it was? Is it a bit like watching paint dry in Manchester, or is it a bit more? Is there a bit more than that meets the eye in Manchester going on?
It's still busy in Manchester. So there's loads of properties still going on, and no doubt there's loads of deals going on as well. With social media, there's loads of people out there trying to sell, find deals. So yeah, no, it's all go ahead sort of thing.
It's all going on in Manchester as well. So okay, so it's all going on in Manchester. So the question is, if it's all going on in Manchester and it's all going on in London, why is it not going on here in Siberia, where we've been told that we was going to be sunny, sort of like sea and sand, and we've ended up in a place that's got lots of snow, and we're sort of locked in for about a couple of weeks. Right, okay. Mandy, philosophical question then. Do you see Lakhi Singh wearing ballet tights and now making more classical moves as he's going up and dealing with hedge funds?
Yeah, I can see him in a tutu just for a laugh.
Tutu, yes, okay. So wearing a tutu obviously means his moves become a bit more classical, running around on his toes. That makes sense. So do you know what a hedge fund is? Do you know what a hedge fund is?
No, I don't know what a hedge fund is.
Begins at, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to have to join the Bolshoi ballet.
Yes, you will.
It'll bring a different definition to Bolshoi, isn't it? The dancing ballet sing.
Yes.
Sing. So,
the ballet sing. Boom, boom.
Do you know what a hedge fund is then?
No, I do not.
Okay. Can you guess what a hedge fund is?
No, not really. No.
Okay, so we'll go back to Lakhi Singh. Lakhi Singh, what type of deals have you got going on in the north then? Because obviously Mandy says lots of moves are being made there. Probably not doing ballet like you now, walking around on your toes and wearing your tights. But what type of deals do you see going on in Mandy? Is it all the big blocks and student accommodation and stuff like that you see that you're dealing with there in the south? And what's the main demand for these large projects? Is it funding? Is it exit? What is it?
Well, what we tend to do is, because of the type of things we do, Mandy and the viewers, is that we tend to get involved in every aspect of property. So it could be HMOs, it could be a piece of land that's actually got potential for planning. So you can, get it. We know you can get planning, so you can spend 50 and make 100. So it could be an HMO, because we do pretty much everything from stopping repossession to getting bridging finance to dealing with ultra high net people that want to buy a £100 million block. We get to see the property in a sort of, like, I would call it 7-dimensional way, because property is not just one dimensional. There's so many different dimensions to it. So whereas I think yourself, you're looking for a sort of cash flow strategy, a lot of these organizations or companies or sort of smaller investors, let's just say, tend to be more into sort of flipping or taking options. Then you get the next level up, which is developers that are looking to build maybe 20 to 50 flats. So Manchester, I think, is probably one of the more active cities, and it's sort of, let's just say, the sort of up and coming city compared to London. I think Birmingham.
When you say it's a bit more Borat city, what do you mean? Like, is it like Borat, the character? What do you mean by Borat?
I didn't say Borat. I said it's quite up and coming, because it's getting a lot of TV as well. I think there's a TV program now where they talk about. I think it's what's that TV program called, Mandy? Something about.
I don't know. I've stopped watching TV in 2010. I
Excellent,
got rid
Mandy.
of it.
Mandy's keeping her head clear. She's not really bothering with television. So
it's got a weird name like Mancu Millionaire or something, or I can't remember.
Mancu Millionaire.
I've just made that up, but I think it's something along the lines of the millionaire developments that are happening in Manchester.
Excellent.
And it's all it's a sort of fly on the wall documentary talking about social housing and new blocks and developers, and looking at two different perspectives, from the council's perspective, from the tenant's perspective, and also from the developer's perspective in terms of how they go out and do deals. So it's quite a cool program, just to sort of get a feel of the Manchester market at a very general level. It doesn't really give you much details on how to pick up a rent to rent.
No.
Okay, so it's a very high level, is it? So it's above the starter level. So
it's a bit more about the cut and thrust of actually being a developer in Manchester, in terms of really how they're trying to pick sites and get planning, and how they're going to the appeal process, and the luck of the draw, whether the council would agree, because you've got a lot of residential groups which group up together to actually stop certain developments. So it's quite interesting. So I think it's getting quite good ratings and things, that particular program. I can't remember the name of it, but I have seen it quite a few times.
Oh, you'll have to share it when you do find out.
Yeah,
will come back to me. I'll
Have
WhatsApp.
you got a television, Mandy? Do you actually have
No.
the television set even? You don't even watch? Excellent. I think that takes a lot of strength, but I'm sure there's some logical, strong reasoning behind it. What's the reason, Mandy? Are you not watching the One-Eyed Beast?
No,
One-Eyed Beast, I'm talking about the television, not any other beast, obviously.
No, I disagree with BBC and having the TV license. So I'm taking a stance of my own, and so I decided that I didn't want to have anything to do with the BBC in that sense. So I got rid of the TV and the TV license. There's plenty more things to do.
I think, look, this goes back to, I think, about a good 10, 15 years ago, Bob Geldof said one man can make a difference, or one person can make a difference. And I think this is what it is. It's about making that change and not buying in to what you've been fed as the absolute truth. So, Mandy, what's the main what's your main difference, or indifference rather, with the BBC in terms of, is it the fact that they aren't really biased, you feel, or do you feel that they are picking and choosing the information they give out, or do you feel like you're paying for the pleasure of watching BBC, but BBC aren't giving you the quality, impartial information you expect of it? What's the main reason?
It seems like fake news to me, and you can watch different channels, and they'll interpret everything differently, so it's giving people a confused message. So it's better to go out and do your own research and find out exactly what it's all about.
What do you use then as a search mode then? What are you using?
The internet. So
you must use some type of a source, a website or a platform or something that you're.
Oh yeah, Google, obviously.
Sunrise Radio.
Oh yes, I remember Sunrise Radio. Yes.
Right, so you use the Sunrise Radio. Okay, check the footy. So what you use Google, but obviously Google
There's a really good paper actually, Vijay Sal, called Desh Pradesh in Southall.
Desh Pradesh, right? Okay.
Good news in it.
That's
Okay.
true.
Now,
Reports more things on India, doesn't it?
so
Actually,
what's the
it's
meaning of
quite mixed. It's sort of,
Desh Pradesh? What's the meaning of Desh Pradesh? What does that mean? Is that like
I think it. I'm not
Irish?
sure exactly. What I think that means it's like living in a
In,
country, but also being part of the country that you came from. I think that's what it means. Desh Pardesh,
Yeah.
home but away from home.
Okay. So what do you think is the meaning of Desh Pradesh? Well, like you said, Desh Pradesh.
It's like a home away from home. I think that's what it means.
Okay, that's good. Desh Pradesh. So do you know what that means, Mandy? Do you know what that has? What does that mean to you? Are you?
it's a news about the cities in India. That's what I used to think. My mum used to read that every time a new issue came out. So,
And what
I think the
language is it
BBC's got
printed in?
competition. You know that.
Yeah, and
oh,
about to
good,
say,
good.
Desh Pradesh, Desh Pradesh.
Yeah,
I think if you look at it, I mean, if you look at it honestly, it may sound a bit basic, but I think in basic literature or in basic reading, the writer has the ability to be challenged by the people who are reading or listening, whereas big corporations like BBC, and I think Mandy's right, who are too big to be accountable, are probably sending out information that hasn't been challenged or can't be challenged that easily because it's so big. Is that right, Mandy? Is that one of the things that you have as a, as a problem with BBC information?
yes, it's like the NHS marches that were in London, Manchester. They didn't cover it at all, and I think that's completely wrong. It's local news, and it should be broadcasted, and people need to know what the issues are, and it needs to be seen, but they don't
They
seem
dumbed
to
it
want to
down.
share.
They dumbed it down. Yeah. Okay. So anybody out there who knows what Desh Pradesh means in its actual literal meaning and then its actual interpretation or transliteration, anybody can tell us. We've sent out the dial code. You can dial us in and ask. And anybody who knows what a hedge fund is, is it like I suspect a hedge at the bottom of the garden that's got lots of money stashed in it, or what is it, something else? Lakhi obviously seems to think it's very sophisticated, but we don't know. We're waiting for someone to make us wiser. So all of you out there, please do dial through and tell us what a hedge fund is, and if possible, what Desh Pradesh is. Okay, Lakhi, moving on to the topic. 5-star areas to be looking out for investment in the United Kingdom. Give us a clue. Tell us what we should be looking out for.
I think what's going to happen is that you're going to get a crash in the real estate market in the United Kingdom. So picking the best areas, I think just got to be conscious of all the things that are happening in terms of your strategy. But there's certain cities that will always hold a good value. So although they'll fall by quite a large margin, if you buy in the right places, then capital growth over the next 10, 20 years probably return again. But a lot of international investors, they just buy more just to have something in London. We had a Malaysian client yesterday that spoke to us. He's got a couple of apartments, but he just buys them just more to try and get his family, when they come over for their summer holidays, they can stay somewhere, and the rest of the year the property maybe get let out on maybe shorter term lets by an agent. So so I think in terms of the best areas, I think London, Manchester, Birmingham, Newcastle, Leeds, all these sort of places are actually quite good. Bristol, Swansea, but there's local variances in terms of strategies you might want to go in, because some markets have a very high yield, and you can find good property with good yield, and then other parts are going to have a larger hit when the crash comes in. I think around middle of next year, you're going to have quite a big difference in prices. What's happening is that nearly across the whole UK, there is already a massive crash, and a lot of people are struggling because they can't get access to cash easily because lenders may have pulled out.
Okay.
So you are getting a mini crash, but it's not dependent upon the cities or the best cities to purchase. Their portfolio could be sporadic. So it could be that they've got 3 properties in Leeds, 2 in Birmingham, 1 in Sheffield, and 8 in London. It could be quite sporadic.
Yeah.
So the opportunities, if anybody's looking out there for opportunities, is working with the property portfolios or businesses that have got mixed assets. So you can actually go and help create a solution by either buying or refinancing or doing a joint venture with these type of people, so you can help them out of the problem as well as give them cash flow, as well as actually creating a win-win situation for yourselves. So I think if you're looking for a low access to be able to get in somewhere with minimal cost, then places like Newcastle, Durham, Leeds, sort of Yorkshire are a lot lower cost. Grimsby, Hull are quite a lower cost to access. Then, but if you've got a bit more capital to play with, then places like Bristol, Manchester, Birmingham, obviously London. But London, there are a lot of deals coming up as well. I think what's happening in central London, for example, you can't really go wrong with central London, because if you're buying now, even when there's ad hoc deals coming up, a lot of the areas that sit just outside prime central are taking quite a big hit in terms of falls. So by default, like we've just had a hotel that's come up, but it's discounted by about 40%.
Okay. Quite
a large discount. The reason being, it's just literally on the periphery of South Kensington and going into Earl's Court. But Earl's Court is not really seen as the better area, but obviously the client in this case is also distressed. They need to sell their asset quickly. So anything that's actually on the peripheries are now suffering. So Fulham, so places like Fulham, Barnes, which are not quite prime central, but just on the periphery, they're already beginning to take a bit of a knock in London, and especially if it's around the 2-3 million mark, that they're actually happy to take a couple of £100,000 below the price quite easily. So prices are softening in those areas. So London is a really good place to buy if you've got the capital. If you haven't got the capital and you're starting off, but you've got the ability to maybe raise a deposit and you get something on your belt, then places like Durham and Newcastle are pretty good. But if you don't want to travel too far, if you're based in London, then the places that are quite close with, you still get good deals, are places like High Wycombe, Watford, Northampton, these sort of places. So I think the place is less important. It's more important your strategy. So if you've got minimal capital, then the best opportunities will be for you where it's easier to access the market. But if you've got quite a lot of capital, then I think sticking in main cities where you can buy things with high yield and you can bring value. So if the market does crash, you've bought something that's you're going to add value to and get a good yield. You can't go too wrong. So that you're just going to be aware that the finance market, you may not be able to get the finance. So I think it's really critical that you have your cash reserves. Yeah.
Okay, Lakhi, I mean, I think you're hinting, alluding, I think, sort of pointing towards the fact the market's going to be about cash buyers because the banks aren't going to be lending that fluently. Is that correct? Is it just going to be sort of like private banks and particular, family offices that have got the money that are going to be buying assets up? You're not going to be able to buy a property in the traditional way with a mortgage anymore, at least for the short term. What do you say, Mandy, with all this news that comes out of London from Lakhi? Before you give an answer, we'll give a shout out to Shaz Begum. Shaz Begum's joined us. She's liked us, liked the video, and obviously likes the conversation that's going on. And Sonia as well made a comment. VJ Sal's back as always. Yes, I am back. D20 as well apparently has made a comment, something about the fact her name isn't D20, it's D20 million. But we have already discussed that. Mandy, tell me, what does it give you a picture of hearing about all these big deals that Lakhi's dealing with, making moves in the square mile with his tights on? Does that make you feel comfortable? Does that make you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like property is too far out of your reach? Do you need to have large amounts of money lying around inside the back garden, behind a hedge, to be able to purchase? What do you say?
I know the prices in London are dropping because of the circumstances at the moment, and the BBC are actually going back to the BBC. They're actually moving up into Salford quite a lot of their business. So, and the prices in Manchester are going up quite a lot. That's what I've noticed in doing my research, and the new apartments that they're building. For example, the building that's been built behind me, one bedroom starts.
As you speak to us, you mean, is it behind you now?
Yes.
Okay. And it's being built.
Say that again.
It's being built as you speak to us now.
Yes. And the starting price is from 350 upwards. I actually went and viewed a few of the apartments out of curiosity. So, and they've got apartments up to like $500,000. So the prices are
$500,000 in Manchester.
Yeah.
That's like buying a full football club, isn't it? In Manchester.
I have no idea.
Excelente. What type is it? Is it like the top end stuff in Manchester?
Yeah. It's been built by Betfred, so the betting shop owners. So they've got quite, I think, about 7 or 8 developments on the go at the moment around Manchester and Salford.
Okay, what do you read into that then? Before we continue, Mandy, I'm going to hold you on that point. Lakhi Singh, what do you read into? Because you're a huge businessman who's always got his nose and ears to the ground. Sometimes you have more than that to the ground. But what are you reading into that? Betfred are offloading their cash into assets. That's really what Mandy's saying. Is why do you think they'd be doing that? They're a betting company. They run gambling outlets.
I think I don't know the reason why they'd be doing it, but what I can see is that anybody with surplus cash at the moment, if they've got a very good strategy, because there's lots of businesses and individuals in trouble, they're having to offload assets on the cheap because they need liquidity. So, and then I think if they've also realized and done their research like Mandy's been doing, then my guess would be that they've got quite a particular strategy for residential, and they're looking to start buying assets in a particular way with a clear exit. So a lot of so they've decided as a investment strategy to build a portfolio of sorts, which gives them a return. And if they're buying and they're getting good deals coming in and meets their criteria, I think they're just divesting. I think, but I don't think they're taking so much of a gamble, because if they know what they're doing, then it's a pretty secure investment. But if they're being quite speculative about an increase in the market, then I don't think that's actually good, because I don't think the market's going to be sustainable for the next at least the next 3 to 5 years anyway.
Excellent. Right, we've got a hand clap from D21. I think she's approving of what she's listening to. And we've got also Deborah as well, saying hi to everyone.
Morning, Deborah.
Hi, Deborah.
Morning, Deborah. Right, Mandy, so continue. Yes. So you got these £500,000 pads behind you. Are they in your reach in terms of the fact that you can't do that and you can reach out and they're being built behind you? I mean, financially,
no.
Are they?
No.
What type of people do you think are going to be buying those?
Somebody that likes the city, or they live in the city, that they would just want to move to a nicer area or a bigger apartment or more facilities, because they've got a swimming pool, jacuzzi, a cinema room, and they've got outside spaces, roof terraces, and they've got something else as well. I can't remember, but they've got quite a lot of facilities, and they've got like, and
I think this is something you mentioned yourself, wasn't it, Mandy? Service departments?
No.
I think it was somebody else who told us about the service department in the sector. The service departments are going to obviously become a bit more fluent. So I think that's probably going to be more like a flat, but service department flat. So they've got all the facilities and the amenities in one place. Is that right?
Yep. Yep. They have. Oh, the last thing they've actually got a laundry downstairs as well, which I don't sort of understand that one, because obviously everybody's got washing machines in the apartments. Why would you go and do your laundry downstairs? So that's the only.
I think that's probably hinting more towards service departments, because you can give your linen for somebody, even if you've got a washing machine, if you're not domesticated or you're busy or you've got the money and you want a maid to come in and clean up and get the clothes washed. You're not going to tell her to do the washing in your flat. You're going to say,
no, yeah,
my laundry, get it washed, get it back to me and give me the bill every month. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So going more on the lines of service departments. What do you say to that, Lakhi Singh? Can you see that as a new concept? Your laundry being done downstairs and you being upstairs with your washing machine, watching it, doing nothing?
I think it's a good idea, actually, because it does actually take out the hassle of having to have a washing machine in your place. If somebody else can do it, you can outsource it. And then I think if you're trying to live got a very busy lifestyle, no disrespect to somebody who's actually, got a very busy schedule, they may not really want, and if they've got let's just say, fairly small flat, they may not really want to be sort of hanging their clothes out and doing all sorts of stuff, because it creates a lot of damp. It's inconvenient. So if they've got a facility there, which can be used by an employee or an outsourced company, or even if you want to do it yourself, but you don't really want to have the inconvenience of having to use your own place to do that. And if it's 24 hours, I think it's a sort of let's just say an add-on, and it's a selling point, isn't it? I haven't really heard of that before. This is probably the first time I heard of that, actually. So it's quite an interesting idea.
Okay, we have about a good 20 people watching us at this point, probably more than that. So we're saying to you, look, we've sent out a login for your number. You can dial us through and ask us a question, because this topic is really interesting. how will serviced apartments become the future? Because at the moment, the nearest thing that United Kingdom does to serviced apartments are HMOs, but even they aren't that sort of interesting or sexy. I think a serviced apartment lines of America. I remember a lot of the ideas that have been tried and tested in America normally come back to United Kingdom mainland, and we start copying our friends abroad over the seas. So yes, service apartments, I think it's quite common out in America, because there it's not uncommon to have someone pick up your laundry and get you your your room cleaned and all that. It's quite normal. At least I've seen it in lots of movies anyway. What do you say, Mandy? Does that make sense to you? Is that a good idea? Is that probably where you're heading? You're probably putting what dirty ideas in your head of dirty linen and laundry. But what do you reckon? Is that the way forward?
Yes, yeah, definitely, because we can't travel at the moment. So if people want to visit different parts of England, at least they can get an apartment rather than going to a hotel, because the hotels might not be up and running still. Some are closed, some are open. So yes, definitely. And then you've got the comfort of actually doing your own thing and not having to be out of the property at a certain time. And I know you can extend the hours if people want to stay a bit longer before checkout. So in that sense, it's a good idea. It is a way forward, definitely. I can see more and more of that happening, definitely. So we'll see how it goes, because I know around the area that I'm in, when the COVID pandemic started, a lot of the service accommodation was doing short-term lets, but some of them are going back to service accommodation as well now. So, which is a good sign, and it's more
Yeah,
income coming.
I think Sonia also, Sonia Lambert's watching. It says, yeah, probably the strategy around essay. It's called essay, and that's not essay as in Portuguese essay or as in Colombia essay.
Cut, please. Take two.
I can't please what?
I said that we're going to cut that bit out. We're going to take two, because the audience don't deserve such bad jokes.
Well, yeah, right. But yeah, the point is, essay is not as in essay. It's not essay. It is serviced apartments, as in those apartments that have all the facilities in with it. I think it's rather like a HMO, but going into the flat world. So, Holmes, tell me. Do you think that's going to happen? Because we were talking about, and I think we had Ninda Singh on, Mr. Johal, famous gentleman who comes on every week with us. He mentioned that a lot of the high streets are going to change, and a lot of these retail shops were probably going to go for conversions into flats and into residential accommodation. So do you think that's where things are going, as far as, and then we're talking about ASTs being outdated, so assured hold tenancies now becoming obsolete, and us going more in towards leased apartments, but like, again, just like in America. Is that what you see is happening, Lakhi? Are we now becoming a mini America? Is it now New York? Is that where we're going to?
Howdy, partner.
A bit more Ireland. That's a crack. That's a crack.
I think it's going to get a lot more Americanized, actually, and I think things are going to get a lot more commercial. But I think also the way councils and the government, they're going to be also slapping a lot more taxes onto anything that's actually making money in property, because they're basically run out of money. So any reason the clever tax that they can use wherever the money can be made in property is going to be now put on the property. So I think the whole landscape of property is going to change as we know it. But they're going to try and artificially pump it up as much as possible on the BBC. So I think the funny thing is that whatever Mandy's saying is probably like one of the most fundamental points that's been made on the show today, if anybody's missed the beginning, which is that BBC actually produces only probably about 99% fake news, but the rest is correct, because they're there to actually give you information which suits the profile of the nation. It's not really to give you the truth so you can actually get out of a potential financial mess you may be embroiled in. They're just trying to embroil you into things which are not really true. So Mandy, I think
isn't that speculative though, Lakhi? I'm going to disagree with you. I'm saying in journalistic integrity, you can call it, or journalism, or the art of reporting, there is always a counter argument that's always presented in terms of if they're talking about A, they will tell you B as well, so that it's your choice to take whichever option makes more sense to you. Are you saying it's a big capital A and a small b when it suits the reporting world? Is that what you're saying? Is that what, Mandy, do you think, is that what Lakhi's saying? It's a big capital A as opposed to a small b, so that you start thinking the way they want you to think? Is that what Lakhi is getting from your understanding of why you refuse to put television on?
Definitely.
Excellent. Okay, so a bit of mind control going on there. Yeah?
Yes, definitely. They want you to. They want the message they are sending out is what they want you to believe, and it's not actually fact. So people need to start doing their own research into things, definitely, because they've got to know for themselves what it actually is, rather than what they are telling you.
Okay, we've got a big shout out to Jessica and Chayanta, I think is her name. So good morning to you, both of you. You've just joined us, new listeners. Hopefully we'll have you on. Again, we encourage everyone to look for the link and click and join us. Ask your question live. Ask Lakhi Singh, the property fixer, the Ixer, the mixer, the mover,
I think
the mover,
what
the
we should do
shaker,
actually
the
is
maker, the liquid, the gold. Yes, sir.
I think we should have the link at the top of the screen when we put the videos out. Otherwise, people sometimes miss the comments because you got people in about 9 different platforms. They don't always see our comments, by the way.
Excellent, sir. We will do that. Thank you for your technical input. But this is
That's okay.
about
I'm here to fix
the property fixer, and thank you for fixing the technical support. We will let them know of your comments, and you can mention that on a WhatsApp to them. I'm sure you have lots of different groups that you talk and chat on. You may need to mention it on one of those groups as you have the time to make moves. Yes. So, Mandy, going back to the conversation, right? We've got service departments. That's an idea for you, isn't it?
Yes.
Opening up a few, taking on a flat and taking on the services of those few flats, rather than getting into capital spend and buying a flat or a couple of flats. Maybe you taking on the ground floor on the lease and becoming the provider to the flats above as a serviced apartment provider. How does that sound?
No, I have actually done my service accommodation training, so it does sound good. I have looked into doing that, but since this COVID situation happened, I changed my strategy again. And then I started looking at doing deal sourcing, but that's going to be costly to actually start because I don't have money for the advertising. So rent to rent is a way forward, and then maybe looking at the rent to rent into a service accommodation possibly. So
Okay,
it's just
Sonia Lambert definitely agrees with service accommodation. She says in this moment of COVID, when people want to come out and visit each other, maybe that is a bit of a jump to the service accommodation market because you can't afford to be in a hotel, it's too expensive, or like you said, some of these hotels have had to close down. But you could take on a flat that's serviced and be in the local area to visit your friends and family if you wanted. So probably it's a new business model there I see coming up, taking shape. Lakhi Singh, does that happen in the square mile, sir, where you're at?
Yes, service accommodation, yeah, it is around. So people do it. I mean, you've got, it's very transient in central London, so it's a very good place. But I think the cost of purchasing an asset and converting into service accommodation is probably not that easy. But I think because of COVID-19, it's also a bit of a yin with a yang because of lockdown. You're not really getting as many people coming into town, so they may not need to be living in town to actually want to be staying there because of the lockdown. So it's cheaper for them to probably stay in their family homes because there's no requirement for travel. So it's a difficult one. I think you got to do your research. I did actually have a call from a client not too long ago wanting to find out whether they should sell their service accommodation project they've been working on for about a year because of COVID-19 or whether they should keep it. So I did do quite a lot of analysis on that and I gave them a few tips. But I actually, so I think this all comes down to the detail. So if you're, right next to Paddington Station or something, and it's always going to be busy because you've got people coming in from Heathrow, tourists or business people looking for accommodation, and you're right next to the station, then you can't go too wrong. Whereas if you have to do a lot of marketing and advertising because you're in an area that's quite built up and it can't easily be found, and it's not they can say it's not easily found on the internet either because there's a lot of people competing in the same area as well. So it's not like a straightforward answer, I would say. I think it all comes down to your research, like Mandy saying earlier.
Okay, we're coming to the last few minutes of today. Interesting topic that's opened up, obviously, service apartments, and the fact that there are companies out there still building high-end, high-spec properties. And I think they're probably only appealing to a certain narrow market because I can't see anybody looking to buy a £500,000 flat in this present time, especially because of all the banks having, shut shop, waiting to see what's going to happen after COVID. But either way, we have realized that there are lots of hotspots, 5-star areas in the United Kingdom. Lakhi hasn't specifically given them, but he's given us a hint as to the criteria or the things you've got to be looking out for to identify, 5-star areas in the United Kingdom to invest in. But I think there's a general trend there, a genuine problem that everything is fluent at the moment. Everything is moving around. Nothing's quite certain. There's a lot of uncertainty, and therefore it's probably a good strategy to hold on to pennies if you are looking to invest. Probably good to go in and divert into other types of business sectors that are not being affected by the virus. And that could be, excuse me, it could be something as simple as pizza delivery, because that obviously is not getting affected. If anything, that stays afloat. Probably pizza outlets that do delivery probably are busier now than they used to be. And at the top end, probably going in for things like serviced apartments or alternative holiday destinations of some kind. Probably booking sunside, suns and sea seats in Siberia, like we've done by mistake, where it's snowing outside and it's minus 13 at the moment. But anyhow, pleasure talking to both of you. Mandy, as always, you are a fresh air, keeping us thinking all the time. Sitting on his ballerina toes. Is it ballerina or is it what's the male is it a ballerino or a what is a male ballerina?
Not sure.
Is it something else, Lakhi? But anyhow, keeping Lakhi on his toes with his tights on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lakhi Singh, for sharing your time with us as usual, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. every morning. Lakhi Singh, making moves with his ballerina tights and his shorts on. Thank you so much. Okay.